Hey there, this is Ashley, and welcome to the Raise Your Vibe Book Club Power Hour. It's likely not going to be an hour, but it is going to provide you with inspiration to activate the power within you, wipe out the perfectionism and the procrastination so that you can confidently take the actions to get you the life you want to be living. So, today I am going to read a chapter from You Are a Badass by Sincero. So, I'm going to be reading this chapter. I might stop and make my own comments. I don't know how this is going to go really. This is my first one that I'm recording. But this chapter does have some exercises, and I want you to pause the video and do them when we get there. That is how you're going to get the most out of this. Okay, so I'm reading chapter 17. It's so easy once you figure out it isn't hard. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Albert Einstein, scientist and awesomist. If you aren't familiar with Jen Sincero, she's hilarious and makes up a lot of her own words. Okay, so this is all from her point of view. I was hanging out in my sunny California home one morning, reading the newspaper with the doors flung open and the stereo blasting, when all of a sudden a bird came tearing into my living room. He was flapping around like a maniac, flying into lamps and plants, spreading leaves, feathers, poop, and panic all over the place. In an attempt to escape, he kept slamming himself into the window while I feebly chased him around with a flip-flop, trying to guide him back towards the open door. It was awful to watch. The poor guy was all panting and wild-eyed, his little birdie heart no doubt about to explode with fear while he threw himself over and over again into the glass at full speed. I finally managed to escort him outside to freedom, and then spent a very bothered few minutes calming my own little birdie heart while I revisited the scene of the accident. I imagined his confusion and frustration. I can see the sky, it's right there. If I fly hard and fast enough, I know I can reach it. It made me think of the way so many of us live our lives. We can see what we want and nearly kill ourselves trying to get it in a way that's not working. Meanwhile, if we just stopped, got quiet for a minute or two, and looked at things a little differently, we'd notice the door to what we want being held open for us by the nice lady in the bathrobe across the room. Then all we'd have to do is fly through it. Oh, the drama we create for ourselves. We're so deeply wrapped up in our stories. I don't have the money. I'm not good enough. I can't quit my job. I'm lazy. I have bad hair. Trudging through life with our heads down, clinging to our false beliefs like lifeboats full of doo-doo, that we prevent ourselves from seeing the literally infinite sea of possibilities and opportunities surrounding us at every single moment. Have you ever walked down a street that you've walked down a million times and suddenly noticed a house or a tree or a mailbox or something else totally obvious and in your face that you've never noticed before? Or have you ever suddenly become aware of the eye color of someone you've known for years? Or have you ever looked at your mother and thought, I was inside that woman once? All this stuff didn't suddenly appear and then you noticed it. It was there all along. You just weren't experiencing it because your focus was directed somewhere else. Here's a cool exercise. Right now, look around wherever you are and count the number of things you see that are red. Do it. Take about a minute, count them all. Waiting. Now stop, look back. Well, it says look back at this page without taking your eyes off it. Okay, so now just stop. Close your eyes for a minute. Try to think of everything around you that's yellow. There's probably a ton of yellow, but you didn't see it because you were looking for red. What you choose to focus on becomes your reality. I'll say that again. What you choose to focus on becomes your reality. That's just an example of what we're not noticing that we can see. There's also an infinite amount of emotions and thoughts and beliefs and interpretations and sounds and dreams and opportunities and smells and points of view and ways to feel good and responses and non-responses and things to say and ways to help. Yet, because we're so set in our ways and committed to our stories about who we are and what our reality looks like, we only scratch the very surface of all that's available to us every single moment. Meanwhile, we're totally surrounded by countless awesome versions of reality, and they're all just hanging around us like a bunch of shy teenage girls at the prom, leaning against the walls, waiting for us to ask them to dance. As the poet William Blake so eloquently stated, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. So, why would you create anything that's not totally awesome? I mean, we're only talking about your life here. If you chose to get over all your reasons why the money you so desire is evil, or your identity as someone who's scared of intimacy, or your attachment to a plethora of other excuses that you perceive to be very serious and real, when they're probably kind of cute and ridiculous, you could literally create any reality you want. Whenever I become impressed by a particularly creative array of new excuses that I've come up with, or start to organize an elaborate pity party for myself, I turn to Ray Charles. I don't often listen to his music, but I always think about Ray when I need a kick in the Batinsky. He was a broke, blind minority who was orphaned by the age of 15 and raised in the colored part of town in a time when slavery wasn't all that distant of a memory, and he went on to become one of the most influential and successful American musicians of all time. Basically, he wasted no time on excuses. Any little woe is me-ism that I try to hold up against Ray instantly wilts into the sniveling little nice try that it is, and I'm forced to look upon my life and my excuses with a new perspective. Really, you're really going to let that stop you? All you have to do is make the choice to let go of everything you're so attached to that's not serving you and manifest the reality that you want. Life is an illusion created by your perception, and it can be changed the moment you choose to change it. Our entire experience on this planet is determined by how we choose to perceive our reality. I know, as if, it can't be that easy. If it was that simple, how could I possibly have spent all this time banging my head against the glass wall of my own self-created ho-hummery? But before you get into a bad mood about it, remember, all this stumbling around in the realities we pretend to be stuck in is very valuable because it allows us to grow and learn and evolve. Rough seas make better sailors, but you get to choose how long you want to stay in school and work on the same issues over and over and over. Your graduation cap and gown are cleaned and pressed and waiting for you whenever you want to put them on. All you have to do is let go of your present story and rewrite a new one that fits who you truly are. If you want to join the party and shift your perspective, do what I say in this book and really do it. Don't just half-ass it. And while you're at it, believe it too. Study the resources I suggest in the back of this book and on my website. Commit to releasing your attachment to low-frequency thoughts and experiences. Trust that the universe loves the crap out of you. Kick fear in the face and head bravely into the unknown. Also, do the following. Number 1, become aware of what your stories are. This is big. We call these stories because they are just that. They are not the truth, and they can be rewritten. You're the author of your own life, not your parents, not society, not your partner, not your friends, not the bullies who called you Fatzilla in junior high. And the sooner you decide to write yourself a better script, the sooner you get to live a more awesome life. Before you can let go of your stories, get clear on what they are. Listen to what you say and what you think about, and start busting yourself in your own lies. We get so used to and so identify with our broken records that we don't even notice they exist or that they're not even real. And yet we'll fight to the death to uphold their non-truths. Listen specifically for sentences that begin with, I always, I never, I can't, I should, I suck at, I wish, I want, as opposed to I will and I am, I don't have, one day, I'm trying. That's been a big one for me. Really bad at that one. So pay attention to whenever these thoughts are in your head or when you're saying those. That's a huge, literally step one is noticing your thoughts and your, the words that you're saying. Anytime you say those are, you're basically limiting yourself just because you're so tied to that story. I can't do this, or I should do this. No. So back to the book. Sad Sack Jane, the lawyer, says she should keep her miserable job at the prestigious firm because she'll never find one that she likes that pays as well. Really? Is that why nobody on earth anywhere is doing a job that they love and making even more money than you make, Jane? Lonely-hearted Sally always says she can't find a good single man because there aren't any left out there. Really, Sally? All the good single men were hunted down and killed, so no matter how many dates you go on or how many times you put on sexy high heels and hang around at Home Depot, you'll never bump into one? Was the awesome guy your friend Deb just met the lone survivor of the good guy genocide? Broke-ass Joe, the personal trainer, always talks about how he can't make any money and how there are no high-paying clients out there. Really, Joe? Not anywhere? Then how is it that other personal trainers have more high-paying clients than they can handle? And that some even created energy drinks and workout products with their pictures on them and are raking it in on QVC. Another good place to catch yourself in a story is by looking at the areas in your life that are sagging. If you're constantly angry, maybe your story is, nobody understands me. If you're always overweight, maybe your story is, I have no self-discipline. If you're uninvited from Thanksgiving dinner because you wouldn't let anyone else talk at the last 3 family gatherings, maybe your story is, nobody pays any attention to me. Remember, as Wallace Wattles said, to think what you want to think is to think the truth, regardless of appearances. Instead of pretending to be stuck in these lame-o realities, use your power of thought to change your attitude and change your life. Start paying attention. What are your favorite self-sabotaging stories? Write it down. What do you hear yourself think and say over and over again that has become who you are, or rather who you think you are? Bust yourself in your own tired, old, broken records right now so you can set about rewriting your stories and create the life you love. Create the kind of life you love. So if you're not aware of what these are, how you tend to self-sabotage, when you're got the negative thoughts in your head, beliefs that you're listening to, your excuses, just start paying attention, or just make a list. Write it down. And so number 2 is to become aware of what you're gaining from your stories. We pretty much don't ever do anything that we don't benefit from in some way, be it in a healthy way or an unhealthy way. If you're perpetuating something dismal in your life because of some dopey story, there's definitely something about it that you're getting off on. Let's say, for example, that your story is that you're depressed. Chances are pretty good, even though it feels awful. When you feel awful, you don't have to work hard, or do the laundry, or go to the gym. It also feels very familiar and cozy and comfortable. It gets you attention. People come in and check on you and sometimes bring food. It gives you something to talk about. It allows you to not try too hard or move forward and face possible failure. It lets you drink beer for breakfast. Let's say your story is that you can't make money. By staying broke, you get to be right. You get to be a victim, which makes you dependent on other people and gets you attention. Other people will offer to pay. You don't have to take responsibility. You get to give up before you start and avoid possible failure. If things in your life fall far below the mediocre scale, you get to blame other people and circumstances instead of taking risks to change it because you can't afford to take risks. Let's say your story is that you stink at relationships. You get your freedom. You don't have to commit and can keep looking for the greener grass on the other side. You don't have to risk getting hurt by being vulnerable. You get to complain about always being single and get sympathy. You get the whole bed to yourself, never have to compromise, and don't have to shave unless it's summer. We don't realize it, but we're making the perks we get from perpetuating our stories more important than getting the things we really want because it's familiar territory. It's what we're comfy with, and we're scared to let it go. If we've been depressed or victimized or whatever since childhood, we trick ourselves into believing that it's really who we are as adults in order to continue reaping the rewards. It's how we survived as kids, but it doesn't serve us anymore, so we need to get rid of it, or we'll just keep creating more of it. For example, let's say you grew up with a violent alcoholic father, and your way to protect yourself from being the target of his rage was to never speak up, to never let yourself or your wants or your wishes be visible. Cut to you as an adult who never speaks your truth or who never stands up for yourself. You're still reaping the false rewards. You're playing it safe, not risking getting hurt or yelled at. But this behavior is backfiring on you because by hiding and not taking a stand for yourself, you're living a life that totally makes you want to roll over and go back to sleep every morning instead of getting up and facing your day. Once you identify the false beliefs you're reaping from holding on to your stories, you can start the process of letting them go and replace them with new empowered ones that serve the adult you. Number 3, get rid of your stories. Once you know what the beast looks like, you can slay it. Take your list of can'ts and shoulds and I nevers, etc., and write stream of consciousness in a journal. We'll get to some examples here in a minute. And really feel in your body what you're getting from these old limiting beliefs, such as, I feel special, I feel safe, I get to live with my parents and never get a job, etc. Make a list of these false rewards. Really push yourself to get them all onto the page. Then feel the attention, the specialness, or the comfort, or the safety, or whatever your trip is, and really become clear on it. Catch yourself fully in the act and feel it all the way through. Now look at your list of false rewards for what they really are. Scared little parts of yourself acting out. Thank them for trying to protect you and for keeping you company, but tell them it's time to run along now. Then replace the feelings you got from these false rewards with the feelings of joy and power and excitement that stepping into who you truly are and who you're now becoming will bring. Imagine that childish version of yourself leaving your body and the powerful adult stepping in. Breathe in the adult. Breathe out the kid in the old story. It's like finally taking the keys to the Ferrari back from the 7-year-old version of yourself who's been driving it all this time, nearly getting you killed. See yourself as the adult stepping in to take your place behind the wheel. Keep envisioning or writing down what it looks like and feels like to have the real adult you replace your old childhood story. Feel it. Get excited by it. Then make the decision that you're ready to change and take positive action in the direction you want to go. For example, let's say that lonely-hearted Sally finally got fed up enough to get mighty real with herself and face her issues around relationships. She'd start by getting clear on what her stories are. I can't meet a man because there aren't any good ones left. I suck at flirting. I never know what to say to men. I'm not attractive to men, not the good ones anyway. I scare men away. I don't trust men. I don't believe there really is anyone out there for me. Once she's got her list, which could easily go on for pages, by the way, but for the sake of example, and because I'd like to leave the house today, we'll stick with these. Sally can stream of consciousness journal about the false rewards she's getting. And by stream of consciousness, I just mean let it flow, don't edit or overthink it too much, just write. So in Sally's case, her journaling could look like, by saying there aren't any good men out there, I don't have to take responsibility for why I'm not meeting any. I get to feel victimized and right for staying single. I get to prove how lame men are by never being with a good one. My pain of feeling unworthy and my mistrust of men get proven right when I stay single. I feel like I know what I'm doing and in control by not letting anyone get close to me. I feel free. I feel safe. I feel special because I get attention for breaking the rules. Again, this could go on for pages, but you get the idea. Once she's gotten all her false rewards on the page, Sally can then focus on them, feel them all the way through, thank them for trying to protect her. We don't want to turn this into a self-loathing exercise, please. And release them by replacing them with new, powerful stories. She can literally take each one and replace it with a new truth. For example, by saying there aren't any good men out there, I don't have to take responsibility for why I'm not meeting any. That story then becomes, the world is filled with awesome, loving men, and I am fully capable of, and so excited to find me a good one. The story of, I get to feel victimized and right for staying single, then becomes, I am powerful and in control of my life. I choose to love and be loved. Instead of the story, I get to prove how lame men are by never being with a good one, it then becomes, I love and trust men, and I'm thrilled to be with an awesome guy who makes me giddy with happiness. These new stories become her new truth, and in order to make them stick, she focuses on them, breathes them in, and feels how happy they make her feel. These stories are her new affirmations. Remember those? That she will not only write down and repeat and bombard herself with over and over and over, but that she will instantly replace her old stories with if they should fly out of her mouth or into her mind out of habit. Okay, so let's review. Okay, here's the exercise part of this. Get your journal out if you haven't done it yet. Number 1, list off your old stories that you've gotten into the habit of thinking and saying. These are all the things that are on repeat. These are the broken records that you just keep saying over and over. And like, think of when you're annoyed by certain things. What are the common things? What does it always come back to? Or when you're not doing, the things that you want to be doing, what are you always saying? What are you always thinking? What's like underlying that? List all those old stories, like list them out. Okay, so number 2 is to journal about the false rewards you get from them. So there's like some positive thing that you're getting from is sticking with this story. So consider what that might be. Number 3, feel into these false rewards. So feel them. Like a lot of times, like you feel safe or it's comfortable, it's familiar. You don't have to change. You don't have to get uncomfortable. You don't have to put yourself out there. You know, you might not get judged. You might not fail if you take a risk. Figure out what those rewards are. So then you're feeling into them, feel into them, thank them for their help, and then decide to let them go. Bye-bye. Number 4 is take each false reward and write a new powerful story to replace it with. And then number 5 is to repeat this new story, or it's like a reframe or an affirmation, over and over and over until it becomes your truth. And number 6 is behold your awesome new life. So nothing in this world is permanent, including our stories. Yet we try to hold on to them for false security, which ultimately leads to sorrow and loss. You have to be willing to let go. Keep reinventing your story as you continue to grow. Okay, so we're at number 4. I think we got till 7. There's only 2 pages left. So 4 is get a move on. Once you've gotten clear on your story and have done the energy work above, the next step is to take action. If you were once depressed but have decided to let it go, stop listening to melancholy music, stop talking about how lousy you feel, stop pretending that putting on your bathrobe counts as getting dressed, etc. Instead, focus on the good and do the things you love to do. Make an effort instead of collapsing into the familiar feeling of being depressed. I have been very familiar with this familiar feeling of being depressed, and it's not easy to get out of it. Realize that you've gotten into habits with these things and switch them around. Behave the way a person who isn't depressed behaves. Dress how they dress. Hang out with the kinds of people they hang out with. Speak the way they speak. Do the things they do. Really sink into the understanding that you can have what you want. This won't work if you just pretend. You can't be like, okay, I'm going out on a date. I'm telling myself I'm going to have a great time, but I know it's going to be hideous because it's always hideous, but I'm having a good attitude about it. Going out into the world and trying, yet still deep down believing that you're ruled by your past circumstances is like forgiving someone, but still hoping they sit in something wet. So, number 5, get out of your routine. I feel like this will help too. If it's hard to move on and get past these stories, kind of like she just said, get out of your routine. Talk to strangers. Wear something different. Go to a new grocery store. Make dinner for someone who you want to get to know better. Change toothpastes. Go to a movie at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Learn 3 new jokes. Walk taller. Notice 5 awesome things you've never noticed about your home, your beliefs, your mother, your face. Do things that pull you out of your routine, and you'll be amazed by the new realities that were there all along that suddenly present themselves. That kind of goes back to what she was talking about at the beginning, where you kind of don't see what's around you because you're so stuck in seeing the same things of the familiar. So if you go do slightly less familiar things, you see things differently. It's that quote again. I'm going to read it. It was at the beginning. Well, there's 2 of them. What you choose to focus on becomes your reality. So she's getting you to focus on different things. Focus on what you do want, not your same stuck stories, because that is your reality. By following the same old stories, you're staying stuck, and that's your reality. And then this other quote, our entire experience on this planet is determined by how we choose to perceive our reality. And yeah, that's almost the same thing. How you choose to perceive your reality. If you see it as sucking, or you suck at this, or you can't do this, well, yeah. But if you change your attitude about it and decide, no, I'm going to not see it like that anymore, then that can become your reality. Okay, number 6, sidestep the spiral. There's also the ever popular spiral into darkness, where you begin by being sad that your dog died, then realize that not only are you now dogless, but you're still single, and you'll always be single because everyone, including your dog, leaves you, which probably wouldn't be the case if you didn't have such fat thighs or weren't so overshadowed by your gorgeous sister, who was pretty much the main reason you've had no self-confidence your entire life, and wah, wah, wah. Feel sad, but don't blow it up into some huge drama. If something negative happens in your life, feel it, learn from it, let it go, and get back to focusing on the life you're excited to live. Number 7, love yourself more than you love your drama. All right, that's the end of that chapter. So, in the comments, tell me one of your old stories and what you're going to reframe it to, or a few of your old stories. Tell me what you got out of this. But the biggest thing is to just really recognize when you're recognize when these old stories, you'll notice. You got to start paying attention to what you're saying. And when you're saying the same things over and over, you got to catch yourself and switch it. So that's your homework. To start getting out of your own way. So yeah, these are I'm going to be reading either sections from books or chapters of all kinds of stuff to help you get out of your own way, get out of your perfectionism, get out of your stories, get out of procrastinating. I'm here. I'm your guide to help you raise your vibe, to get out of your own way, to create the life that you really want to be living. And I know that for me, it's hard. Like, that's why I'm wanting to help you, is because for me, I've been stuck in these old stories for years. It's like you make progress, but at the same time, there's, you knock some stories out and then realize there's a few underneath. So, getting out of our own way is a process. But I'm here to be your guide through it. So check back for more videos on the book club. I don't know. This is my first one. Oh. But I really love doing these. I know that I've been wanting to do them, so I'm just doing them. They are going to be weekly, and you can find me, subscribe, and also you can always find me on Instagram and message me there, because I love to hear from people. So, bye.